Want to learn to build wealth fast, starting at zero? Well, here you go. First things first. Did you know that the majority of people who become wealthy wasn't born into it, nor was it given to them? With that being said, in order to become wealthy, first of all, you need a hunger like no other. This isn't something that just happens with a drop of a dime, but with consistency and the urge to keep pushing, it's possible. Even though I am sure you have heard the saying, broke man can't get ahead, or the rich stay rich while the poor stay broke, but, those sayings are only myths, because with a written blueprint and proper strategy, things can change and it's possible to become wealthy. It's as simple as that, by sitting down, taking some time to map out your financial budget. First thing first, though, is to realize that building wealth is majority behavior and the smallest portion is the head knowledge. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, are you ready to go from zero to wealthy? Well, truth is, wealthy isn't a fast process. If you expect anything good to come from it, or expect it to stick around, however, I am sure you have heard the saying for some musicians. People calling their music one-hit wonders, and the name says it all. It's literally a one hit and that's all, or overnight success. But that as well never lasts, because if you're not mentally ready to be wealthy, and you get a large amount of cash, you'll blow through it as quick as you got it. Because remember, wealth is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. So until you get your mindset where it needs to be and your spending habits under control, it's pointless to try and build wealth. In this video, I'll break down the key actionable steps to become wealthy fast as possible, with key breakthrough moments from understanding wealth, to mindset shift, to assessing your current status, all the way to the breakdown of your SMART framework, and I'll break down the meaning and reasoning for the SMART method after we get past that part. We're going to kick the wealth building tips into overdrive. Are you ready? Okay, now that we've established we need a plan and that it takes time and consistency, let's get going on our journey. To financial success, we'll start with the meaning of wealth, which is an abundance of valuable possessions or money, intertwined with the state of being rich in material prosperity. With this being said, the key to take away from this is to buy assets, not liabilities. And the more you are able to purchase and accumulate into your portfolio, the more your personal value will rise. Look, so now that we broke it down into detailed description, let's emphasize what it means to have a mindset shift first and foremost. Look, if you grew up in a family like I did, where we were not rich nor wealthy, and we were taught all the different myths and had heard all the sayings that's typically associated with being broke, and it's not that I or you, either one, were told a lie, it's just that our parents probably were raised and taught. That themselves, it's just the mentality of the middle class and the poor. It's their way of thinking. Remember me saying it's mainly behavior. Well, that's the truth, and in order to become wealthy, you need to have a mindset shift. You no longer need to think in that manner. You got to give your mindset a complete makeover first and foremost. I'll be very transparent with you on the front end. Your mind is going to fight your inner thoughts, tooth and nail, because you're literally going to be changing any and everything you had been taught and believed. When it comes to your finances, from the biggest one that you're not capable of becoming wealthy because you weren't born into it, and then the idea that you got to keep up an image to impress others, and also the idea that if you can't afford it, then we'll put it on credit, because this frame of things I just mentioned have got to shift and no longer exist. With that being said, are you willing to eliminate those first and foremost to complete step one? Now that you've gotten the startup out of the way, let's do some self-evaluating. Like, where do we honestly sit financially? Do we own any assets, or are they just all liabilities? Do we have any debt or any money saved up for in case of emergency? Then, do you have a written plan for getting started building wealth or creating a brand? Because I like to use this for example, but have you ever known an individual to build a home without a blueprint? I know my response to that is no. So with that being said, same applies for your finances. You can't become wealthy, build a brand or business just out there running on spur-of-the-moment decisions, because in all reality, you should have a budget that will literally disperse and help you keep up with every single dollar. You have come in, and that goes out as well. Plus, not only should you evaluate your finances, but also evaluate different skills and certifications that you have, or that you could earn, because the more knowledge and skill sets you have, the more your value and self-worth is valued as. To the next key step that's very important as well, because it's like the exact metaphor you need. Now that I've helped with you getting your mindset organized, and we have evaluated ourselves financially and skill-wise as well, let's get For example, the ink for your blueprint, because without the ink, all you have is a blank piece of paper. So go out and purchase you a diary or journal or even a planner. Or potentially all three, because the more you write down with detailed description, the better. That's your goals that we're assessing now, because with written goals for one, it's proven that you're more likely to achieve than also. It's a way of keeping you in line on your roadmap to success. Actually, better yet, let me introduce you to the SMART concept, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. The SMART concept is an acronym to help keep you aligned with your financial mission. Because without any structure, it's easy to lose the direction for which you are trying to go in. And before you know it, you'll find yourself failing. So with these previous details, we're going to add the next key step, which is getting started creating a budget. There are a variety of ways you can go about this, from using a zero-based budget, where every dollar has a job, or you can use the 50, 30, 20ths rule. As an effective way for budgeting by dividing your income into three categories, where 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt repayment. Although they all are proven to work, I guess it's mainly a personal preference, but in order for these to work, not only do you gotta be true to your finances, but you gotta be true to yourself as well. As one of the tips I found that helps me is anytime I go to make a purchase, I give myself at least 72 hours to think on it before reevaluating it, so it cuts out the spur-of-the-moment purchases that can help me to save money. So I don't make impulse buys. Plus, I have my spending limit set out inside my budget, so have an exact limit, and if it's not included in my budget, then I'm just not able to make the purchase. I've also learned that those $2 to $5 purchases add up over time. So with that being said, I've now not only keeping up with every dollar I earn inside my budget, but I also used to would get, like, say, a bonus or a little kickback for doing good work, and would use that just to spend for, like, eating out and stuff. But now I've gotten it set up to where I take pride instead of buying food and clothes and random things. I pride in what I try and purchase as many assets as possible. However, now that we have discussed the previous budget and gaining control of your mindset, let's move into reading and studying finance books and listening to podcasts. Anything you can do to continue gaining knowledge to self-educate yourself and better your ability to learn. So that way you can start a side hustle, whether it be minor when just starting out, like doing surveys, playing games, and participating in focus groups, or any of those apps, which by no means will they make you rich, but until you're able to get a part-time job for hourly wage, or salary, or even freelance, any bit extra that you're able to earn makes it easier to get started investing. With that being said, just think if instead of every time you wanted an energy drink or coffee, or chips or snacks, you would replace that habit by putting that money into a low-cost index fund, because I have a feeling you would be amazingly shocked at fast your investments would grow just by doing this one small hack. I'm not just telling you to do this, I'm literally speaking from experience, because that's how I got started myself. So by no means am I any better than the next person I just mentioned. These ideas and thoughts, because they work, you accumulate wealth really fast. However, another option you have is to gaining more knowledge. You're able to scale your income by signing up to get licenses and certifications, classes and courses, anything to self-educate yourself to build a better knowledge base. Because just by having proof of a simple class or course, you automatically raise your self-worth or value, and don't let anyone tell you any different. So now that we have touched on building knowledge and self-worth, let's speak a bit about how important it is to have an emergency fund. Remember, Grandma always said to save for a rainy day. Why is that? Because it's inevitable. It's going to rain. With that being said, by saving up an emergency fund, it's definitely gives you a sense of security, because you are no longer one mishap away from something going wrong and it putting you into panic mode. And when you have that safety net, it's just so much easier to deal with everyday life. But once you have a 3 to 6 month fund saved up, then it's important to get you a 401k or a Roth IRA. One is a tax-deferred account, and the traditional 401k taxes you. Cash it out and also check with your employer. If have one, because some companies offer a match, and with that being said, that's free money. And with these accounts, I recommend investing at least 15% into these accounts. But remember, to follow what I do to build wealth, you need to go beyond this, which is to try and invest every dime I earn that doesn't go to a bill goes towards a asset, because the stronger your portfolio and more assets you own, the more you're worth. Because when it comes to investing, you have a variety of options. It's all about your risk tolerance and what you feel comfortable with, whether it be index funds, stocks, bonds, REITs, EFTs, or just regular real estate. Using the buy and sale or buy and rent, but if all these feel too risky for you to invest money-wise, you can always put your money into something, like a money market account or high-yield saving or certificate of deposit. And with these accounts, the bank will pay you a higher interest rate. And they usually are FDIC insured, but the only downfall to these accounts is you're limited to the amount you can earn. But the high-yield accounts are great for having your emergency fund or a short-term investment like saving for a car, or something of that nature. The other downfall is some may have like a daily spending or withdrawal limit, and most of these accounts are online. Banks online will say this though, don't invest into something because I'm telling you to or because your family, neighbor, or coworker, or advisor suggest it. Make sure whoever you're learning from when it comes to your investments has a heart of a teacher, but allows you to make the final decisions. Don't invest into something you don't understand. However, they have several financial investment books out there you can read to learn more, or watch more YouTube videos. It's not really difficult. It's just new to what you're used to, and trust me, you'll figure it out because it was new to me as well. But after I read a couple of books and watched a few YouTube videos, I had the gist of it by investing into index funds, because those were where I felt the safest with because of being very diversified. Due to my age, being in my early 40s, I knew it was time to start getting serious, because I wasn't getting any younger, and so now I'm trying to buy as many assets as I can and hardly any liabilities. If anything, I'd rather sell all the liabilities because they aren't helping with building wealth. Because look, when it comes to building wealth, it's better to know exactly what you're investing in, keeping. Spread out, that way you don't have to worry or stress about losing your money. The wise words a mentor once told me was to not invest into anything you don't understand. Now that we broke down the investment part, let's talk about how the idea of building either a brand or class or course or product, just more or less, anything that you can do once and with very minimum effort, end up keeping, you're able to continue collecting passive income, whether it be a home, for instance, that you rent, a class you teach, or a course you train. Just basically anything that will continue paying you for the rest of your life. Even though you set it up only once, they prefer to call this passive income. I like to call this having a strategy. Because remember, the wealthy didn't get there from just a 9 to 5. So now that I was to give you the full breakdown, would you be ready to go from zero to wealthy? Because since we touched on the key points like mindset evaluation, budgeting to control your money, taking your income and growing, or making it multiply, and once you've gotten that out the way, the importance of savings is mentioned, so you no longer live in fear of a rainy day or accident. Because you're covered now than taking your money and buying assets instead of liabilities and investing into whatever type investment just for you that suits your lifestyle and risk tolerance. And then the final key point, which was to create several one-time things that only call for very little maintenance and work, but pays you the rest of your life. You know, that passive income stream? So I would like to thank you for watching this video and hoped you learned something new, and don't be afraid to get started. So with that being said, if you want to learn more, check out our playlist with a group of videos. And don't hesitate to drop a comment and subscribe to Legacy 2 address, and we'll be more than happy to empower you into a movement built of success and wealth.